Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here with us, for taking the time post-work or waking up early. We appreciate everything. And meditation is such a personal space. We all arrive at that space. It is a journey, it's an experience, it's a very sacred space that we arrive through meditation. But if I may just take a few moments before we get into that sacred space that is unique to each one of us, if I may just take a few moments to share some reflections, share some intentions about today's meditation. Today's meditation is called Shunya. I think in our lives, I'm sure all of us have come to a point where we feel we are at the fork. There's a fork in the road, or we feel we are in a situation that is beyond our capacity to shift, or we may feel that we are between two worlds. We are not quite out of one, and we are not quite in the other one, but we're right in the middle. Whatever is happening at this current moment for all of us, wherever we are in our lives, there is one choice that is quite powerful when such circumstances come up in our lives. And that is a space of pause. It is a choice that we can make to get into the energy of pause. It is empowering in its own beautiful way. Pause helps us to look at a situation from a higher perspective. It helps us to get clarity of mind. It helps us to understand what is our energetic contribution that we can make to the situation that we feel we cannot shift anyway, we have no control over. It also has the power to take us to that sacred space that I was talking about, the meditative space. And it is called Shunya. The space of Shunya, it's a Sanskrit word. It means to be in a void. The word itself means empty. It is also the number 0 in Sanskrit. Now, when we say emptiness, it doesn't mean it's empty. When we say it's a space of nothingness, we don't mean it's nothing. It's actually a space that is a creative void. It is a space of non-dual consciousness. That's where our higher consciousness can really tap into divine presence that exists, that stays within us. Now, Shunya strangely also reminds us of the beautiful energy of oneness. And I'll explain why. Shunya, no boundaries, no identities. Oneness is everything is inclusive. It's a unified whole. So it almost is like two sides of the same coin. Interesting. Just like the number 0, and Shunya means 0 also in numbers. When you look at 0 as a number, it has no value. But you add it to a number, it increases the value of that number. And that's exactly what Shunya and oneness does. Both two sides of the same coin, but carry that powerful energy within it. In fact, I'm going to share a small quote from Osho, who said, "Forms disappear, only the formless remain. Definitions disappear, the undefined remains." And then that brings our attention to duality, which is a concept that we are very familiar with when we live life on Earth. While I've been reflecting, as Sarah was mentioning, one of the images that kept coming when I was asking for guidance on how I can be energetically of any support during these times. And I kept seeing the Earth, and I kept seeing the axis of Earth. Now, we know that the axis of the Earth is not at 0 degrees, it is at 23.5 degrees. The 23.5 degrees has its value because if the Earth's axis was on 0, we would have no seasons. We would, the equator would have the intensity of sunlight all the time. The poles would be cold as ever all the time. So that just shows that life on Earth, what we also call third dimensional living, is naturally dualistic. We are meant to live and find beauty in diversity. We are supposed to coexist. We're supposed to enjoy the interdependence, the relationship that we have with what we call dualistic living. It's in simple days, day and night, or in not such great feelings when we have to choose between right and wrong and good and evil. But they're all part of the same energy of dualism. So why Shunya? Why am I sharing Shunya today? Again, this is something that I was guided to share, or at least asked to stay in that space as much as I can through my day in my meditation. And in my inquiry, one of the few things that were revealed to me was that in those moments when you cannot shift anything and the pause is important, the space of Shunya is important, is because Shunya holds the capacity to help us have non-attachment. It helps us to have a deeper understanding, or have a more depth and understanding of the purpose behind duality. Understand that duality exists within oneness. It shows us that Shunya is infinite, but within the oneness, there is also duality. We need to value it. It gives us an opportunity, the Shunya space gives us an opportunity to let go of past narratives or attachments, stories that keep continuing from on and on and on. You may call it ancestrally, or even in our personal life. There is a time when we need to stop living in the past. We don't need to carry the fear of the future, but we arrive at the present moment, because in the present moment, the magic happens. In the present moment, a unique balance can be achieved. So, how does one get into this personal space of Shunya? Again, it is unique to each one of us, but some of the techniques could be chanting a mantra, breath work, holding some mudras, walking the labyrinth. That's a story for another day, perhaps another meditation. Prayer. All these help to get into that sacred space of Shunya. So I will guide today's meditation through some of these. We'll use some breath work, we'll use a mantra, we will use a mudra. But before I go into explaining those things, I would like to share a few analogies which may help you to tap into this Shunya space a little more easier, or understand what Shunya may be for you. Perhaps in me sharing these analogies, it may give you an aha moment of your own space of Shunya that you have already experienced. So if you can bring that into your meditation today, because we will be in a silent space for around 10 minutes in the Shunya space. So these analogies or your own may help you to stay in that space as much as possible, or bring yourself back to it. So some of the analogies that I would love to share are a pendulum. So if you hold the pendulum, it naturally goes left to right, which exactly is how dualistic living is, from one end to the other. But if you hold the pendulum long, just in stillness for a bit, it arrives at stillness on its own. There is no movement anymore. They may have a little bit of a sway, but just for those brief seconds, it arrives at a space where it's still. That's Shunya. We're all familiar, maybe we don't use it anymore, but the grocer's balance, the one that has the two pans and hold. Even if those pans are empty, they do go up and down a little bit, they move. But if you just held it still, just for a bit, it arrives at stillness. And then the two pans arrive at its own natural balance. Maybe one a little higher than the other, but it arrives at a balance. That's Shunya. The cross. The vertical bar of the cross, which is your relationship with the universe, your higher consciousness, with God, however you refer to that greater good. I like to call it the greater good. That's the vertical bar. The horizontal bar of the cross is your relationship with humanity. The point where these two bars meet, that's Shunya. And then there's another analogy that has helped me in my meditation to arrive or stay in Shunya, or at least go into the space of Shunya and then come back, because we have to live, is the analogy of seeing a body of water, say the ocean, and a drop that evaporates and goes into vapor, and it stays in that formless space. Well, vapor is not entirely formless, but at least it has this energy of being up in the clouds. And then when it rains, it returns back to the ocean. So when you're meditating, if this is a beautiful anchor for you, imagine yourself as a drop from the ocean. Allow yourself to evaporate, go into the space of Shunya. And when it's time to return to life, back to this moment, you can imagine yourself coming back as a drop, as a raindrop back into the ocean. These are all beautiful anchors to use to get into your sacred space of Shunya. Like I said, some of these we will use in today's meditation. I would like to share now what are the anchors we will use for the meditation. Mudra. This is, in fact, called the Shunya Mudra. I will just demo. So your middle finger, you will bring it to the base of your thumb and use your thumb to gently hold it down. You don't have to press it down. You just gently hold it down and support it. And the rest of the fingers can relax the way they are. This is called Shunya Mudra because you're connecting with the space, the ether within you that exists within you. So it helps you to connect to your higher consciousness. Interestingly, it also has a physical benefit. It helps to improve the auditory function. It helps with the thyroid gland. It helps to calm the nervous system and bring clarity. So that's the mudra. You can hold it during the meditation as long as you like. If it gets uncomfortable, just release it. It is said that the mudra tends to bring up some old sadness or trauma that may be residing within you. And if it does, then this is where, and Shunya, you can let go of it. What I was talking earlier about letting go of past narratives that do not serve us. Then is the breath, one of the most powerful anchors that exist within us and stays with us all the time. Usually when we speak of breath, we think of two things. We think of the inhalation and we think of the exhalation. But our breath actually has 4 steps. There's the inhalation. There's a pause between the inhalation before we exhale. And then after we've exhaled, there's another very brief pause before we inhale. So today in the meditation, we will take advantage of those 2 pauses actually. Why? Because in pranayama, in yoga, it is actually called kumbhak. The internal kumbhak, when you retain oxygen within you, even if it is just for a few seconds, it brings in cosmic energy. It revives your life force energy. It gives you fresh prana. And when you release it, you are surrendering back again anything that is not serving your higher good anymore. So pausing at the external kumbhak, which is when you don't have oxygen within you, is actually the most powerful pauses. In Rumi's words, he said, where the breath ends, spirit enters. Now, scientifically, with breath, when we exhale it, there is CO2. Now, we always give more attention and value to oxygen. We rarely do we give attention to the CO2. It's almost like the good and bad, yeah, the yin and yang, another dualistic concept we may think. But the CO2 also has a role to play on a physical level. It helps to move the oxygen and let the oxygen go into all the cells. So it has its role in our balance. So when we take the pauses, whether we are taking the internal pause or we are taking the external pause, both have the power to help you connect to your higher consciousness. Now we can do the holding of the breath very briefly. We cannot hold that long unless we have a very intense practice in yoga, which we're not trying to challenge that today. So there are three levels. One is you just naturally observe after your inhalation, you just observe that brief second of pause within. And when you exhale, take your attention to the brief pause after your exhalation before you inhale again. As simple as that. If you want to give it a little more attention and a little more space within your body and to connect to that higher consciousness, you can try out the box breathing. The box breathing, I'm sure all of you are quite familiar with, is basically, it is equal counting. So your inhalation, say, is count of 4, you hold for a count of 4, you exhale for a count of 4, and then you pause again for a count of 4 before you inhale again. So it's, I believe the soldiers use this a lot to calm their nervous system down, to slow down their breath. So that's called box breathing. If you wanted to go a little bit further and you are already in the practice of holding and retaining your breath, it's called kumbhak, that's the retention. And in that, I'm just going to do a demo of it. If I was counting for 3, when I exhale, after I've paused for 3 and I've exhaled, there are 3 locks that we do in the body. You lock the anus, so that's the Mullabandha lock. Then you lock your stomach, which is the, I forgot the name, but anyway, it's the abdominal lock. And then you bring your throat to your chin, which is called the Jalandhar Bandha. So you're locking the oxygen in 3. It's a seal. I'm just going to do a demo. If you feel you would like to try it out, you can. However, there are some contraindications in it. The contraindications are if you have high blood pressure, if you have any heart conditions, if you have any digestive issues, or if you've just eaten a meal, if you have vertigo or dizziness, please do not practice it. Do not retain your breath. You can try the box breathing if it's comfortable, or you can just briefly observe the pauses in you. We are not trying to challenge anybody at this moment in time. But I'm just going to demo the advanced in case anybody wants to do. Okay, so you basically hold 1, 2, 3, release. Whichever method you do today, we are going to just do 3 rounds of our specific attention to the pauses. Now, we have one more anchor that we can use, and that will be the anchor of the mantra Soham. The mantra means, So means supreme, higher consciousness, the greater good, the divine within. And Hum means I am. So I am that. I am one with the divine consciousness. It's as simple as that, Soham. Why I have chosen Soham today is because Soham is actually the sound of the breath. When you inhale, it is the sound of So. And when you exhale, it is similar to the sound of Hum. So even if you just focus on that, that is quite powerful to take you into that sacred space of Shunya. I will guide you. During the breath, which will be only 3 rounds, I will count and I'll use the box breathing as the guide. So it'll be count of 3. Inhale 3, pause 3, exhale 3, pause 3, back again to inhalation. We'll do 3 rounds together. And then we will go into complete silence for around 10 minutes. After that, I'll bring you back. And then we will share the different Shunya spaces that we have enjoy it with one in that space when whoever's happy to share with us. I also have some oracle reading, spiritual card reading planned, but that will be for later on. Okay. So if there are any questions about the practice, feel free to ask now. And then let's just settle down. You can choose to sit. If you're planning to do any of the retention, please sit and do the meditation. Otherwise, you can choose to lie down and do the meditation. If everybody's ready, we can begin.